The big red machine is here! Get stealing, woo, wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.
From the past.
I am a real American.
To the present. And the future.
Chair of wheels, more of lawn. Chair of wheels, more of lawn.
You are listening to Penn State's only WWE talk show, Marking Out with Jason Marcus and Matt Freiler.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Marking Out on Com Radio, Penn State's only professional wrestling exclusive podcast. I am your host, Jason Marcus, and alongside me today we have, once again, my good friend Cody Klein. Cody, how are you?
A little tired today, but we'll get it done.
Well, hopefully we had a pretty jam-packed episode of Monday Night Raw last night. Hopefully that'll be enough to energize you up. But before we go into last night's Monday Night Raw, I think it's only fitting that we start off this podcast with a rest in peace to Brian Christopher and to Nikolai Volkov. Brian Christopher, a.k.a. Grandmaster Sexay, back in the Attitude Era. So rest in peace to those guys. It was a rough night for professional wrestling a couple days ago. We lost a bunch of great men. So rest in peace to those guys. But let's go right into it because we did have a really big episode of Monday Night Raw yesterday. It started off with a in-ring promo by Raw General Manager Kurt Angle. Kurt was basically calling out Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, saying that, if he doesn't come into this ring tonight, because he hasn't been on Raw in at least 3 to 4 months, basically he gets cut off by Paul Heyman and ends up giving him an ultimatum and basically says to Heyman that if Brock isn't in the ring at tonight's main event, that he is going to fire Paul Heyman.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What do you think about this whole storyline with Lesnar, Cody? What are your thoughts on this thing?
Well, I mean, at least he was on the show.
Right.
So, they got it going on with him going on, having more stuff, and you see him on the TV show. So, I mean, it's a plus, but I don't know. We'll see what happens from here.
Right. And this whole storyline with Angle and Lesnar and Heyman will continue throughout the night. But that is just the opening segment. We kind of get that big ultimatum to kick off the show that'll kind of carry us through the rest of it. So right after that, we have our first match in the evening between Constable Baron Corbin and Finn Balor. And it was an okay match, but I think because me and Cody actually watched the show together, and I think I said it then, I absolutely hate the way the Finn is being used right now.
Yeah, I'm not really into it either. He should be running for a belt somewhere.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Even if it's just a mid-card belt, if it's the Intercontinental Championship, give him something. But he got that win at Extreme Rules through a roll-up, so it wasn't even the definitive win there. I'm not really sure what they're doing with him, but the match he had with Corbin to open the show last night was okay. Corbin actually gets the win by hitting his finisher the End of Days. So he picks up the win there, and then after the match continues to beat up Balor. So Balor just keeps getting buried, and it's really unfortunate to see because Finn is so much more deserving of a spot.
And what's that to say? You get Corbin again with the beating the guy while he's down, so you going with that. But yeah, Finn's they got to get him on something better. He needs another push here.
Yeah, and if they are gonna wrestle again at SummerSlam, which looks like that's probably the match, at least I would hope they have enough wherewithal to bring back his demon persona because you haven't seen that in a while.
That's true. It'd be nice to see.
And maybe if they do that, he'll get the win, and then maybe he'll be on to bigger and better things from there. But right now, things are not looking good for Finn Balor at all. After that, we have more backstage segments between Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman is just kind of trying to do anything he can to bait Lesnar to go into the ring, which I thought was odd because it's clear Lesnar's in the building, but then he's like, I don't want to go to the ring, though. So, like, if you're there, like, this doesn't make much sense to me. Why if you didn't want to be there, why are you... I don't know. I don't get it at all.
Well, he showed up to get his paycheck.
Right.
You know what it is? That's the way it seems. And he states it. He doesn't care about the universe and all that.
He has a great line in there where Heyman is like, did you see what happened out there? And Brock's like, Paul, you know I don't watch the show. Which I thought was funny because that's kind of the common conception about Brock at this point is that he doesn't watch the show.
He doesn't care.
Right, exactly. Yeah. He's a champion who doesn't care about his product. So they have that throughout the show. But after that, we had a match, a women's match between Alicia Fox and Natalya. Alicia Fox was joined to the ring by Alexa Bliss. Natalya joined to the ring by Ronda Rousey. Of course, Ronda and Alexa Bliss will go one-on-one for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. And that's really the kind of the story here. Although Alicia Fox and Natalya are the ones wrestling, the whole story is around the girls outside of the ring here, which is kind of unfortunate. But surprisingly enough, Alicia Fox picks up the win after a distraction. She actually wins with a big boot, which is... not a great finisher, if you ask me. But nonetheless, she gets the win here. After the match, Rousey kind of attacks both women, tries to lock the armbar in on Alexa Bliss, but the heels are able to scurry out of the ring and get away, kind of furthering that build to their match at SummerSlam. What are your thoughts here on Ronda Rousey, specifically in this program with Alexa Bliss going into SummerSlam?
I don't know. Tonight was... I was interesting. I guess she came out Bliss came out because Rousey was going to be with Natalya.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, they gave Rousey that crazy run again, like she always, but it wasn't like all as bad as it's been the last couple of times. So maybe she's calming down and see what's going on and get a easy, half minimum there of what was going on. And I don't know. I guess just give her some more. I mean, that's what are we calling her move? The swinging
Samoan drop thing. Yeah, doesn't have like an official finisher name yet, but.
I like it.
Looks good, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still like what's going on. It's interesting. I'm paying attention.
Right, which is bare minimum. That's what we need, right? At least as long as it holds our attention, which it will. And the most important thing that comes out of this specific segment is that it sets up a match next week on Raw between Alicia Fox and Ronda Rousey. And for the first time ever, Ronda Rousey will have a match on Raw, which is it's good. I mean, she's only had 2 matches on television, or like I guess you could say pay-per-view. I mean, I think she's done a bunch of live events, but only 2 televised matches. So this is her first one on free television, so should be good next week in Jacksonville. Obviously, you hope her opponent was someone of a little bit more substance. No offense, Alicia Fox, but
they're giving Fox a little push right now. She's been on the show the last 2 weeks.
I mean, she's been in the company for a long time, so she's got to be doing something right because she's still here. But that was that segment. After this, we had a segment between Elias and Bobby Lashley. Elias comes out and does his whole shtick, hypes up his album that was dropped last week, and he is interrupted by Bobby Lashley, and it was really a confusing segment to me, Cody. I don't know about you, but like Lashley comes out, and I'm not sure why he comes out, but then he starts singing with Elias, and it almost felt to me like this was like their attempt to like try to like, I don't know if humanize is the right word, but like kind of like make Bobby Lashley more relatable, but it really just came across as very cringeworthy.
It was that same old Bobby Lashley voice you get every time you see him.
Right, and it was kind of uncomfortable to watch. They start singing Rockin' Robin, which had no correlation to anything at all. It was just weird, but it does give us some idea of where they are going from here towards SummerSlam. You'd imagine those two will probably have a match.
We'll have a little rivalry here.
Right. After the segment ends when Elias attacks Bobby Lashley from behind, sets up, like we said, their program probably going into SummerSlam here. So also important to note that they, while this is happening, they have the Elias documentary on the WWE Network.
Oh, coming up after.
Cody, did you get a chance to watch this Elias documentary?
No, I ran out of time.
Yeah, I haven't yet to watch it either, but from what I saw, it looked like it was more of maybe a mockumentary style, and if that is the case, I will probably be watching that at some point when I have the time to. But that is that segment, so we'll see where that goes from here. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue to talk more about last night's Monday Night Raw. You are listening to Marking Out on Com Radio, Penn State's only professional wrestling podcast, and we will be right back.
Now back to Com Radio's only WWE talk show, Marking Out with Jason Marcus and Matt Freiler.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Marking Out on Com Radio, Penn State's only professional wrestling exclusive podcast. I'm your host, Jason Marcus. Joined alongside me today is Cody Klein, and we are recapping the episode that was last night of Monday Night Raw. We just finished wrapping up the segment between Bobby Lashley and Elias. So after Bobby Lashley suffered that big loss to Roman Reigns last week, now we know where he is going towards as we are on the road of SummerSlam. But after this segment, we had another match between Braun Strowman and Jinder Mahal. Now, it's important to note that before this, we also had a backstage segment between Kevin Owens and Raw General Manager Kurt Angle, where basically, as we had mentioned earlier, the storyline throughout the night is, they're trying to get Lesnar to the ring. Is he going to come out? Yada, yada, yada. And Kevin Owens is basically like, you can't have Lesnar come out to the ring because if he is, then Braun might cash in his Money in the Bank, and he can't do that because I need that Money in the Bank briefcase. And, of course, he is quickly shot down by Raw General Manager Kurt Angle, and he's like, dude, that's not even your problem. Get out of my face. And that's pretty much that. But that does lead next to the matchup between Jinder and Braun Strowman. And it is a very quick match. It ends where Kevin Owens comes out pretty much right away, looks to steal the Money in the Bank briefcase while Braun is in the ring. Braun catches him doing it. Kevin Owens quickly just throws the briefcase over to Sunil Singh. Sunil Singh, of course, gets then beat up by Braun Strowman. Braun chases Kevin Owens into the back of the locker room, which allows Jinder Mahal to get the win by count out here. I get that it's like this is their way of building to their match at SummerSlam for the briefcase, but I feel like I wish they were kind of like doing a little bit more with Braun. I feel like he's one of the bigger stars on the roster, and he just had like a 30-second match on Raw, and I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of this segment. What do you think, Cody?
I don't know. I didn't really mind it. I kind of sucks that Jinder got the win, out of all of it. That's the thing that I don't like about it. But I figured Owens was going to do something, and this was kind of funny to get
that's true.
Braun to lose a match, and we got Sunil Singh got shoulder blocked by Braun Strowman.
Poor Sunil Singh. I feel like he's only on television just to get beat up mercifully.
Yeah, and I think most people love it.
Yeah, that's probably why they keep doing it. What do you think about this whole new Jinder Mahal persona? This whole tranquilo, calm, I guess almost trying to go into a direction of Buddhism.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this. I'm not really a big fan of Jinder that myself, but
Who is?
He fits the Vince McMahon
Right,
so.
right. He's got a lot of muscles, that guy. So that's pretty much all that it has to talk about on that segment. After that, we had another backstage segment, this time between Mojo Rawley and the Raw locker room. I believe it's Heath Slater and Rhino and Shad Gable, and I forget who else was kind of back there. But Mojo Rawley has been on a win streak over the last couple weeks. He's solidified himself as this big, aggressive heel now, and he's kind of looking for new challengers, so he's in the locker room trying to punk everybody out. But he is confronted by the glorious one, Bobby Roode, and that leads to a scuffle in the locker room. Cody, what did you think about this segment, or what do you think about this potential program here between Mojo Rawley and Bobby Roode?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Mojo just yet.
Yeah.
I liked him with Hype Bro. I'm glad I got to see Zack Ryder on television.
There you go. Zack Ryder's there as well. Yeah. Finally, he's doing something.
But no, I think, Bobby Roode here, I mean, at least it gives Bobby Roode somebody to go after and you get more of what's going on because I want to see him on the show.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like I said, we don't know what's going on with Bobby, so this could be something for him now, and maybe we can put Mojo back in his place a little bit here, or we'll have a little run here for more with Mojo, gives him a little higher personality to face in the ring.
Yeah, I just kind of feel bad. I mean, I'm happy for Mojo because he's in a better spot than he was for sure. But at the same time, I feel like this just feels like a massive downgrade for Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
But this becomes our second match announced for next week. Next week it'll be Mojo Rawley and Bobby Roode. So far you have 2 matches announced for next week, and one of them involves Alicia Fox, and one of them involves Mojo Rawley. So if that doesn't make you want to tune in,
Hyping the show.
Alicia Fox and Mojo Rawley. It's a big one. So that's set up for next week, and we'll see where that one goes. But that was pretty much all from that segment. We then got a 1-on-1 match next between Apollo Crews of Titus Worldwide and Akam of Authors in Pain. And surprisingly, Apollo Crews actually gets the win with a roll-up here. I was surprised about this because the Authors of Pain are this big, dominant tag team. They're going to be in the tag title pictures sooner rather than later. But you have them lose here. And I know it's a 1-on-1 match, so it's not a tag team match. But still, if you're looking to paint them both as like this big... Like, what does it give to... Does Titus Worldwide really need this win? What are you doing with Titus Worldwide?
Yeah, I thought they were, on the jobbing train for a little bit.
Right, exactly. And like it doesn't that one didn't really make much sense to me because it only hurts the Authors of Pain, and it doesn't really help.
I guess it could push to another match with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. Who knows what they're trying to do with it.
And that's pretty much the whole thought behind it, is that it just fills this week of television and it continues the story for next week of television.
Yeah.
But long term, I just don't. I'm not a fan of having these teams lose this early after they're called up because we haven't seen a lot of Authors of Pain. And for those who don't know who these guys are, the first time they're going to see them is possibly them just losing.
Losing to Titus Worldwide.
Yeah. So I don't really get it. But that was that. Next, we had probably the best match of the night between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. Really good match. 2 of the best workers in the entire company. You'd expect nothing less. Rollins looks like he's going to get the win here after he hits the stomp, but almost immediately after he hits his finisher, Dolph Ziggler comes in and attacks Seth Rollins, ends in DQ. Furthers their match for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. So I like where that is going here, but I think that Drew is honestly the one out of them that's going to get the biggest push.
Oh, yeah, I see that coming.
He had a gimmick when he was in the company earlier where he was the chosen one. He was handpicked by Vince McMahon to be the guy. Obviously, that didn't work out, but I do think he's going to come back around, and I think he's going to get another shot at it. But
they put him in that 6-man or the triple threat match last week or 2 weeks ago on Raw for the Universal title thing. So
Right.
I don't know, they're stepping forward with them.
After this, we get another backstage segment, again with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. This time, Paul Heyman tells Brock, because he doesn't watch the show, so he doesn't know what happened out there. But he tells Brock that Kurt is threatening to fire him if he doesn't come out, which actually leads to Brock Lesnar putting his hands on Paul Heyman for the first time since in his entire run since 2012, showing some seeds of dissension there. So Brock doesn't want to go out to the ring. Paul tells him he kind of has to, and Brock is not happy about it. Then after that, we had a tag team match between the Revival and the Eaters of Worlds. The B team is out on commentary for this one, and the Revival actually picks up the win here. They hit their Shadow Machine on Bray Wyatt and pick up a clean win. So also kind of confused booking on this one as well, because I thought it looked like that the B team and the Leaders of Worlds were going to continue their feud heading into SummerSlam, but instead the Leaders of Worlds lose. And
I don't know what's going on. Everything's flipping flopping right now.
It's very much 50-50 booking,
Yeah.
and I don't really understand it. I don't know if they're leading toward a triple threat tag team match for the titles. I think that's great for the Revival. I think they're
they need a chance. I mean, they've had bad luck the last couple times they've got their push.
Right. Well, they've just been beat up. They've kind of been like those calling cards to get beat up. Like if you remember on Raw 25, those were the guys who got beat up by DX.
Well,
So that's kind of the position they've been in since their main roster call up. But they get a big win here, so maybe this is good things for the Revival going forward. But questionable decision booking wise if you're trying to make the Leaders of the World look like legitimate contenders. They were just champions, but they lose here.
Yeah, they lost like 3 straight now.
Yeah, so not sure what they are thinking here. I guess we'll have to tune in the next couple weeks to see what they do. But the last match of the night is again a tag team match between Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan of the Riot Squad. And it is exactly what you would expect. Bayley and Sasha get the win here clean. It's not a very long match. But again, but nothing happens afterwards. You spent so long.
The show's all about just Bayley and Boss getting back together.
And I'm so confused, Cody, because you spent weeks plotting Sasha's gonna turn heel. No, Bayley's gonna turn heel. They both hate each other. Now it's like, oh wait, no, they're just kidding. They love each other and they're hugging it out, and nothing's happening now.
And they're best friends all over.
And they're best, and it's like none of it ever mattered. And I don't know what's happening anymore. I really don't. So
I don't know. Let's hope they're building tag titles.
That would be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see that. And I hadn't thought about that. So thank you, because I think that is a great idea if that is indeed the direction. But we'll see. That's the last match of the night. The main event is a in-ring segment between Raw General Manager Kurt Angle, Paul Heyman, and of course the Raw Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Heyman comes out first, says he doesn't know if Brock's going to come out. Inevitably, he does. Brock does come out looking angrier than ever.
Well, you got to say Heyman was down. Heyman is down and out.
Right.
Tail between his legs.
Yeah, no enthusiasm when he comes out.
Begging for his job.
Right, because right before this, as we mentioned, he was assaulted by Brock Lesnar.
And Brock was like, go do your job.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's no longer in the corner of the advocate. In fact, Raw General Kurt Angle says that Brock is the worst champion of all time, and Paul Heyman agrees.
Yeah.
He agrees, Cody.
Well, like I said, Heyman is the weasel of wrestling.
Flipped already.
Yeah.
And so he calls his own client the worst champion of all time, which leads Brock to come out. Brock gets immediately in the face of Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin, says, "You got a problem with me?" Corbin smartly gets out of the ring, but Kurt Angle eats an F5 here. So Angle is laying down on the canvas. And after that happens, it looks like Lesnar and Heyman have kind of come back together. But instead, we get a swerve here where Lesnar once again attacks Paul Heyman, kind of just chokes him out a little bit, I guess is the best.
Gets him on the mat, I think, too.
Yeah, just kind of grabs him by the mouth and just kind of forces him to the ground. Kind of basically just telling the WWE Universe that I think that pair is officially split up for good.
Could be done. I mean, Heyman could be fired. We don't know.
Right.
He was fired, and then Lesnar came out. So
right. That's true.
What happened?
We don't know.
Yeah.
I'm definitely invested to see where the story goes more. I think this is their best way of making Lesnar as much of a heel as possible, because Lesnar's only connection to the WWE Universe was Paul Heyman. And now you sever those ties. Yeah. Lesnar's really got nothing. So the WWE is really trying all in their power to build Roman Reigns to be this big baby face to come in and save the day.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to put more hate on Lesnar, which, I mean, it looks like it's happening.
Right.
You know, the only good thing about him right now is he was back on TV yesterday.
Right.
You know, so, hey, splitting Heyman up could be leading to maybe a loss of a title here.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But that was Raw from last night, so we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to recap Smackdown and NXT from last week, because we did not get a chance to do it on Thursday. So you are listening to Marking Out on Com Radio, Penn State's only professional wrestling exclusive podcast, and we will be right back.
Now, back to Com Radio's only WWE talk show, Marking Out with Jason Marcus and Matt Freiler.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Marking Out on Com Radio. I am Jason Marcus. Joined by me is Cody Klein today. And some interesting music choice here we got from Dean Ambrose. Haven't seen him in a while, but he is rumored to be returning pretty soon. Are you looking forward to that potential return, Cody?
Oh, man, I'm loving some Ambrose if he gets back here anytime
Big Ambrose
soon.
guy?
Yeah, I like Ambrose.
Where would you like to see one Dean Ambrose? What program would you like him to be in when he returns, if you had to pick?
Dude, as long as he's on TV, I'll be fine.
Right.
I don't know if you want to put him on Raw with Roman and Rollins.
Right.
But I think maybe you go SmackDown with it, and you give him
really.
another
You'd like
big
to
guy.
see him go debut back on SmackDown.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, there's no reason to say he won't, and I
no.
think there is a case to be made that their SmackDown needs that kind of star power. So that's a good idea. I think. I mean, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to the return of the Lunatic Fringe.
Heck yeah.
Probably, I would say, I think he'll probably return to Raw after SummerSlam, if not at SummerSlam himself. But that is my official guess. But speaking of SmackDown Live, we did not have a show on Thursday, so we're going to quickly recap last week's segment. Of course, there's a SmackDown again tonight, which we'll recap this Thursday. But last week on SmackDown, a lot of transition show. Well, it was actually a relatively big show setting up for SummerSlam. It started off with a promo from Randy Orton kind of explaining his actions of the week prior where he kind of assaulted Jeff Hardy. He had that thing where he, put his fingers through the hole of Jeff Hardy's ear and, pulled back. And
please never show that again.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch. But he comes back and he's just cuts a typical Randy Orton heel promo. You don't respect me, yada, yada, yada. The only letters you need to fear are R-K-O. And it was, I mean, listen, Randy is by far a much better heel than he is a babyface, so I'm glad he's in this role. He looks to be continuing his feud with Jeff Hardy, but I'm not really sure where this is leading because
I read somewhere the other day that he's going to start a part-timer a little bit.
Randy or Jeff?
Randy.
Okay,
going forward, which, I mean, I'm glad he's back, so I get to see him. It sucks he's not going to be on the show all the time, but with this, I see a push for the U.S. title maybe here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think because we also had on this show, we had a backstage promo from Shinsuke Nakamura, basically taunting that he's still the United States champion, even though he only won it a week ago.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe this is a triple threat that they're posing here because they're both kind of talking toward Jeff.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what the direction here is.
No.
But
glad to see Orton back in the mix.
Exactly. At the end of the day, I'm just happy Randy is back. But, yeah, I think he has kind of, for a couple of years now, kind of just been part-time. He's kind of here for a little bit and out. Not as so much as John Cena is part-time.
Yeah.
But I think his schedule is going to be looking more and more like Cena's.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. Was there any kind of hints at Cena for some sort of career match maybe in his talks?
Like a retirement match?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think...
I feel like I was talking about that with somebody and can't really remember.
I don't think he'll... he'll definitely retire at some point, but he's such a special attraction. I'm honestly surprised he doesn't have a match for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Because it is their second biggest show of the year.
Well, how long do we have? What, until SummerSlam?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Oh, well, we got time to make a match.
Yeah. I don't know. He's got a lot going on. He's got a lot of movies coming out. So
Is there
John's
an official U.S. Championship match yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
No.
We'll see what happens. Like you said, maybe there's a triple threat coming.
Right. That would be my guess. But that's how SmackDown last week kicked off with that promo from Orton and then the backstage thing from Shinsuke. The first match we had was between Andrade Cien Almas and Rusev. Andrade Almas coming off that great match he had the week prior with AJ Styles. And Rusev coming off his loss to AJ at Extreme Rules. So those two have a good match here. There was a backstage segment before between Zelina Vega and Lana. So kind of pitting the two
That's
against.
the part we liked anyways.
Right, well, certainly the prettier of the two. But this is an okay match. Almas really is impressive in his ring work. I love him and Zelina Vega together. They really are a good pair.
Yeah, I think she fits right well with him.
Yeah, I think she makes his character. I think without her, he's actually quite boring. So this is an okay match. Andrade Almas picks up the win with a hammerlock DDT, and how quickly they fall. Just like we said a week ago, Rusev was in the contending for the WWE Championship, and now he's losing in the opening match to SmackDown clean.
Was there was something with the guy that sings? What's his name?
Oh, Aiden English.
Yeah, was he at the ring?
Yes. So
so there was a distraction, and that's how Almas got the hammerlock DDT.
Right.
Yeah.
They are continuing this story of between. There's a civil war between Lana and Aiden English.
Yeah, so I think this was more about Rusev than it was about Cien Almas anyways.
Right, exactly. You're correct. Which, I don't know. What do you think? Do you have an opinion on the whole Aiden English Rusev Day gimmick thing?
Come on. You know my opinion on this.
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with Rusev Day.
No. I forgot you're not a big Rusev Day guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's better than nothing, but again, I feel like I say this a lot, but I feel like Rusev is more deserving of just, I don't know. I guess that's the problem. You just have so many talented guys on the roster. But at the
you
same,
don't have anything to do. You don't have stuff to do for all of them. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But they are continuing planting these seeds of dissension between Lana and Aiden English. Both of them feel like the other one is better for Rusev. So that was that match. And then after this, we had another squash match between Samoa Joe and R-Truth. The week prior, we had a backstage segment between R-Truth and Ty Dillinger. That was pretty funny. And they kind of have the same thing this week. They're hyping each other up backstage. This time, R-Truth is the one taking on Joe, and he's quickly squashed and choked out with a coquina clutch. So Joe continues to look strong there. After that, we had a match between Asuka and Billie Kay of the Iconic Duo. Obviously, at this point, Asuka is moving on from the Smackdown Women's Championship scene, so it looks like she's now moving on to a feud with the Iconics. Asuka picks up the win here through pinfall, but I'm disappointed that this is kind of where Asuka's in now, because she was riding so high with her undefeated streak. Mm. And like I think we said this a couple weeks ago on the podcast, after she lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania, it has been an exponential decline from here.
Yeah, I don't know if she's won more than one match since then.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been bad.
Well, you had the disqualification stuff with Carmella.
Right.
Yeah, and so what's going on with that? And now this, so...
But even the thing with that feud was, like, I don't think she was ever, like, DQ'd. Like, she was just beat.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It was distraction beats, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, even worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, Asuka gets the win here. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. But she is not looking like she's in a great spot. But speaking of the SmackDown Women's Championship, we had a match between the champion Carmella and Becky Lynch, with the stipulation being if Becky Lynch can win, she will get her match at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And of course, Becky Lynch wins. She's riding a hot streak now. She's had a couple wins in a row on SmackDown. She beats Carmella with her finisher, Disarmer here. Yeah. Carmella tops out. So it's official, Cody. SummerSlams, Carmella will defend the SmackDown Women's Championship against Becky Lynch. What do you think about this match at SummerSlam?
Well, I don't know. I like the Becky Lynch push. I mean, she was the original SmackDown champion.
Yes.
So it's good for her to get another run at it. Mm-hmm. And she has been on this run of beating everybody with her
finisher,
her finisher move. So what? She's beaten almost everybody on SmackDown,
right?
Except for Asuka,
right?
So there we could turn Asuka back around.
I would love to see an Asuka Becky Lynch feud for the title, and maybe that's where they go.
Yeah, maybe that's where they go. If she wins it, and they get it from Carmella, maybe Asuka comes out and says, "You're not ready for Asuka,"
right?
And we get
I've lost a lot, but you're not ready.
So
yeah. But I like this Becky Lynch push. It's definitely a long time coming. She has been due for this for years now. It's
come back around for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that match is set for SummerSlam now. We also have a match a tag team match between the New Day and Sanity in this SmackDown Tag Team Championship tournament, where the winner of the tournament will face Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. So the first match of the tournament is the New Day versus Sanity, and surprisingly, New Day picks up the win here. Again, I kind of similar to what they were doing with Authors of Pain on Raw. I don't quite understand the giving Sanity this loss so early in their main roster run here. I guess they're just not ready to put them in the SmackDown tag team titles, but I think there's got to be a better way than just having them lose clean like they did this last week on SmackDown.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe if they could have gotten a one win. Right. Put them in who knows what they want to do with New Day. They could run to the championship here, but But it would have been nice to have Sanity get a win in the tournament. Maybe not win the tournament.
Right.
But I see what you're saying there.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't seen all that much out of them. I mean, they've been very small segments.
Right.
Honestly, some of the times I don't even remember seeing them.
Right.
You were talking about this match, and I'm like, Yes, but I haven't watched them on NXT, and I have no offense toward that. I just,
Yeah.
they haven't gotten me yet. So.
Right, and that's important to know though, because as someone who exclusively pretty much watches main roster stuff, you have that valuable perspective of, is this gimmick working? Because it's, as we've seen, it's one thing to have a gimmick get over in the NXT universe, but it's a whole nother animal to try to get over in the main roster universe. Yeah. So that's good though, because that gives them, that's the feedback that they're looking for. So that was that. We also had two in-ring segments to kind of end the night. One of them was the Miz and Daniel Bryan. So the Miz and Mrs. his wife Maurice, have this new show on the USA Network that was debuting directly after this week's episode of Smackdown. So they had a Miz TV segment, which basically was just them trying to get people to watch the show while simultaneously running down Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan comes out and he has like a video package that's supposed to be like highlighting Miz and Maurice, but instead is kind of just highlighting all like the negatives about the relationships and whatnot. All the times like Miz has like used Maurice as a human shield. Yeah. Right. So that kind of aggravates them too. But it's important to note here that before this segment, they had Monroe Sky, Miz and Maurice's legitimate child, was backstage, and they are bringing her out to Miz TV for this segment. Daniel Bryan comes out, he starts talking trash on Miz. They have a nice back and forth, and the segment ends when Miz allegedly throws his child into the hands of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, of course, has no idea what to do.
He freaks out and catches the baby.
Right. Of course, it's revealed. It's not the baby, Cody.
It's a little doll.
It's a little doll. That's sneaky Miz. Which allows Miz to get the upper hand, beat down Daniel Bryan, and that is the end of that segment. As they
starting the feud.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited. What are your takes on this? Are you happy to see this Miz Daniel Bryan feud play out right now?
I'm ready for it to come. I mean, I hope they make it and stretch it out for as long as it can, be.
Right.
Because I liked it before when, Daniel Bryan was the GM and Miz was the wrestler, and Miz would always tease Bryan that he couldn't be in the ring and all this, and they have that hatred. So I like the Miz Daniel Bryan connection. I'm a Daniel Bryan fan. I love to hate Miz.
Yeah.
So this is a great feud for me.
Right.
I'm in it. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it too. I hope they do more than just their SummerSlam match. But so far, so good. That is, they continue that story. So that was the end of that segment. And then probably the biggest segment of the night, we had a contract signing between AJ Styles and the number one contender for his WWE Championship at SummerSlam. But his number one contender is anonymous.
Yeah. Paige was out to announce it.
Right, yeah. So Paige is out here to tell everyone who the new number one contender will be. And she goes, here it is. And it's James Ellsworth. And everyone's thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Ellsworth? Ellsworth talks about how he deserves to be number one contender.
Yeah, and this cocky persona that Ellsworth has is so funny.
I mean, he beat AJ 3 times, right? So
that's what he says when he comes out, right? So, well, see what Paige says.
Yep. So Ellsworth comes out, claims to be the number one contender. Paige isn't having it, and actually ends up firing James Ellsworth.
And the crowd goes wild.
I know. What do you think, Cody? How do you feel about James Ellsworth?
I was unhappy when he came back.
Yeah.
And now I'm happy that he's gone.
Not a big James Ellsworth fan.
He was pretty boring. He had his 15 minutes of fame when he was with the Ambrose. So,
right.
He got his fluke wins on AJ, and then he did that. Oh man, the Ambrose AJ Styles match when he, got in and got everything just DQ'd, so he could have a match with him on Raw or SmackDown.
I think it was SmackDown.
Last year.
Yeah.
Ellsworth.
But Ellsworth is out as quickly as he has come back to the WWE. So I think this might be
good riddance.
Yeah, I think this might be the last time you never say never, but I think this might be the last time that he's back. But we do eventually get our number one contender for SummerSlam after Ellsworth is fired. AJ Styles is attacked from behind by none other than Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe chokes AJ out with the coquina clutch, signs the contract, and it is official that the two will go one-on-one, not in TNA, but in the WWE for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Cody, what are your thoughts on this match? Are you looking forward to it?
It's an interesting way to go. I am looking forward to it. I'm an AJ fan, and
Right.
I know when AJ has matches,
Yes.
my favorite referee will be refereeing.
And is that who's that?
Yeah, Mike Chioda.
Mike Chioda.
He does all of AJ's matches.
Does he?
So,
I didn't
yeah,
notice
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Take a look next time you see AJ wrestle.
Interesting. I'm very excited for this match. I think it's the best decision they could have made. I think Samoa Joe is the clear number one contender on
sure.
SmackDown.
Yeah. And he needs a run for a belt, and I think it's time for this to go. And even if he doesn't win, I'm sure this feud's on into something else. Or
right. I think this is one of
those.
those feuds that lasts far past SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm. And I could see the way Samoa Joe's been going lately, it could end up in him just beating the shit out of AJ Styles.
Right.
And the referee ended up DQing him because he's not getting off the ropes or something like that. But
Right.
yeah.
But that match is set for SummerSlam, so I'm very much looking forward to it. If any of you guys have watched any of their matches from TNA in the past, you know that these two have great chemistry together. They're two of the best in the world. They always have great matches, so very much excited for this at SummerSlam. It won't be the main event, unfortunately, but if it was on any other card, it probably would have. So that is SmackDown from last week. We're going to take our last quick break, but when we come back, we're going to wrap up the show talking about last week's NXT, some Ring of Honor news, and any final thoughts. So you're listening to Marking Out on Com Radio, and we will be right back.
Now back to Com Radio's only WWE talk show, Marking Out with Jason Marcus and Matt Freiler.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Marking Out on Com Radio, Penn State's only professional wrestling exclusive podcast. I'm your host, Jason Marcus. Alongside me, Cody Klein. Just finished wrapping up talking about SmackDown from last week, and we are going to end the show today talking about the big episode of NXT television that we had. Wasn't a lot on the show, but it was a very, very important show indeed. So we'll get all into that. The first match of the night saw Adam Cole of the Undisputed Era against Sean Maluda, who was in the Cruiserweight Classic a couple years ago. They have about a 10 to 15 minute match. It was an okay match. Adam Cole picks up the win clean after hitting his finisher here. But the story is, after the match, Adam Cole and his Undisputed Era cohorts are joined by Ricochet. Ricochet comes out, cuts a promo on Adam Cole, and basically declares himself the new number one contender for Adam Cole's NXT North American Championship here. So looking to set up possibly that match for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. But before the segment ends, Ricochet is joined by the tag team of Hanson and Rowe of War Raiders to kind of even the odds here. So hopefully a 6-man tag match is in the works for some NXT television in the future. But overall, do you watch much NXT, Ricochet, Adam Cole?
No, I haven't really ever watched it.
No, you shouldn't. Then it's really good. It's the difference between main roster and NXT. Main roster is so much more storyline based, whereas NXT, they'll just have downright 20-minute matches where it's just nonstop in-ring action. So if you like the wrestling and the athleticism, NXT is more of that style, whereas the main roster is more theatrics and the story.
Yeah.
So
we have the network. I'll give it a shot maybe.
Right,
once in a
yeah,
while.
absolutely. I mean, their takeovers are always fantastic. But that was the start of that NXT. Like I said, not a whole lot on this show. After that, we had another match, a squash match between Tanella Price and Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans is this Rosie the Riveter character, like this throwback women's empowerment character, but she's a heel. Her finisher is called the Women's Right, and is literally just a punch to the face. And it is literally the worst thing I've ever seen. I thought it was bad when Big Show did it, but at least Big Show looks intimidating. This is like a smaller woman just hitting someone in the face with a right hand and picking up the win. And it is, I'm not a fan. I'm not interested. I don't get it. Hopefully she can do more for me. But she had a match, so management's behind her. But after that, we had a couple promos. We had a Bianca Belair promo, basically saying how she's undefeated in NXT, so she should be in line for the NXT Women's Championship, even though there's already a number one contender, but just trying to build her stock a little more. We also had a backstage promo between the NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler and Candice LeRae, kind of continuing their feud of Shayna just... first she starts off running down Kairi Sane, who is the number one contender for her title. Then she talks more about LeRae and runs down the entire women's roster and basically saying, no one can beat her and they're all beneath her, yada, yada, yada. And then the match, the last match of the show takes about half the show, and it is the big match for the NXT Championship match between the champion Aleister Black defending against Tommaso Ciampa. And it is absolutely phenomenal. Black and Ciampa are amazing. Ciampa's probably the best heel in the entire industry, main roster, NXT, whatever. He's the best heel professional wrestler in the world right now. They go about 30 minutes. It is a really, really good match. But in the end, the finish, Johnny Gargano comes in and looks to cost Ciampa his chance at the NXT Championship, but instead inadvertently hits Aleister Black with the NXT Championship belt, which allows Ciampa to pick up the win. So Tommaso Ciampa wins the NXT Championship on NXT television, becomes the 13th ever NXT champion, and it is really great stuff. I guess they are now looking to build toward a potential triple threat match for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn here, but really awesome stuff. I'm glad that they have Ciampa as the champion. As much as I love Aleister Black, I do think his title run was too short, but for the run that Ciampa is on, like I said, he's the best heel in all of professional wrestling at the moment. More than deserving of the championship around his waist. Plus, it just elevates that feud that he's got going with Johnny Gargano. So, although it was not too much going on in this episode of NXT television, it is definitely a must-watch for any professional wrestling fan. So that was NXT of this week, and that's pretty much all we have for you. Do you have any other final thoughts or things you would like to talk about here, Cody?
No, I think we talked about a lot of stuff today. So.
We did have a lot to talk about. Not too much else going on, much on the rumor mill. Of course, New Japan is still continuing their G1 Climax. I'll get more into that on Thursday's show. Tomorrow, we'll have a great match for the G1 Climax that I'm looking forward to between my personal two favorite Japanese professional wrestlers in Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenny Omega. Two of the best in the entire world. They will be going one-on-one tomorrow in the G1 Climax, so I'll have the recap of that on Thursday. A lot of great matches going on. Some other things going on in Impact Wrestling as their fallout from Slammiversary. Chris Jericho announced another match for his Rock and Wrestling cruise. It'll be the Young Bucks representing Ring of Honor against LAX representing Impact. He's doing an Impact versus Ring of Honor thing for his cruise. So that match was announced for that. So
when is that? Do you know?
I think it's sometime. I think it's right before All In. So I think it's sometime in September, but I could be wrong.
Right. Love me some Jericho.
Yeah, I gotta love Jericho. But that match was announced. But other than that, that was pretty much this week in professional wrestling. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it, Cody. Anything else you can think of?
No, I don't have too much out there. I'm good.
Nope. All right, well, then we're going to sign off here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, I will be back on Thursday at noon to recap tonight's episode of Smackdown, tomorrow's episode of NXT 205 Live, everything going on with the G1 Climax, and everything going on with Impact Wrestling. So thank you so much for listening to Marking Out, and we will see you guys on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.